1, 2, 3. Am I live? Looks like it. That's come on its own. That's strange. Normally I have to press the bottom button here and then start conversation or start broadcast, but it looks like it's already come in originally. Has it or hasn't it? Could you just give me a shout out, guys? Can you hear me and see me? Technically, thank you so much. I've been called darling for a while. Love. Welcome, everybody. Just shut up or I'll beat you over the head today. It's been one of those days today. Has anybody felt that energy today? Oh, the ego and the anger. It's getting rife. They say that the world's going to turn into a zombie nation, and it seems to be that way. Strange day today. So this conversation here, book, Diary of an Accidental Psychic. Diary of an Accidental. Look, it's small, it's tiny. It's great for flies. And if your seat's a bit wobbly, just stick it underneath and it makes a perfect stable for your seat and table. So this book was, this book came out in 2013. Yeah, I was well away in my, where did I write this book? That's right. I was well doing one-to-one reading. So Arlene, who helped me co-write this book, after I'd finished a day's work, full day's work, I'd go down to Fuengirola, which is down the road, and we'd sit in the office. She was in an office, and we'd start working on the book. I'd order the carrot cake, or she'd order the carrot cake, because I used to eat a lot of sweet things then, don't now. And we started writing this book, and believe it or not, it took a long time to write this book. So in this book, there are chapters on just a fraction of the things that I saw as a working healer around the world. I've traveled to well over 30 countries in the pursuit of helping people who couldn't get any help from doctors and from priests and from spiritual people. And they called, and I went and tried to help understand the situation. And yeah, not a bad track record, to be honest. That's not egoistic, it's the truth. Track record, because I got used to what was happening. And funnily enough, when you start doing the work, it comes to you. The work comes to you. It's strange, really. How do you explain that when you might do one bit of work, and then all of a sudden, a week or a couple of weeks later, somebody's calling you for the same thing? It's like, this is weird. Then you realize that you work alongside the spirit world, and the spirit world works alongside you. It's hand in hand. So when you have something to offer, which is normally experience, and it might be of this world or past life, who knows? But when you have that experience and they know that you can help, then they'll lead somebody to you. So do you ever feel like you just want to walk away from somebody sometimes when they come up to you and ask for your help because it's just overwhelming? Well, that's an interesting topic in itself. Walking away from somebody who's asking for your help, knowing the difference between helping somebody and somebody who is there just to steal your energy. That same topic can go into having conversations with people on the internet. Is it worthy of a conversation? Because is this purely ego driven by somebody who has no idea what you're talking about? So therefore, how can you explain something without upsetting somebody or making them feel bad? And thus, I had about 3 or 4 messages today, Julie, because not primarily, but Julie, because a beautiful lady who is fairly famous in the world of aliens and alien world. She posted something that we just had a conversation, and it was recorded, and she just took a snippet yesterday, I believe, and put it out there of part of the story, not this book, but the other book called Seeing the Invisible, which is 4 times the size of that. That was my last book. And in that story, it talked about me having an encounter with something that I couldn't explain at the time. But as time went on, I kind of understood what it possibly could be. And in that book, there's also an encounter with what I believe was an angelic being. So, today I thought, rather than try and explain, which I'm rubbish at, it comes across so wrong when I talk as I'm typing, because I'm not a typer. I have got dyslexia and dyspraxia. So most people think I'm either angry or egoistic, and I'm not. It's a struggle to explain. So it's easier for me to make a video, and doing this video live, hopefully I can answer some of your questions. And if I can't, I'll just say I don't know. So there's a lot of things that I don't know about this field of work, a lot of things, but there's a few things that I do know. And when confronted by people, like about 4 weeks ago, I think 5 weeks ago, maybe 6, just before I left for Bali to work on my latest book, I was sat with somebody who was in this field of work, and they started talking to me about cleansing, talking about negative energy, talking about entities and attachments. And they started saying something that, like, to me, I just said, I'm really struggling with what you're saying, because I don't really understand what you're saying. It makes no sense in my world. And I don't want to go into detail, but they were trying to tell me the difference between angelic, difference between alien, difference between demonic. And I'm like, I literally don't understand what you're saying, I said. And, where did you get this information from? And that's when it started becoming awful. And it always ends up that way. This is why I don't like to sit with spiritual people. What is wrong with me saying to you, where do you get your information? Was this your own information via experience? And as soon as you start asking that question, they just go blank, or they get angry, or they get defensive. And it's like, well, why would you get defensive when I'm just asking you a question? So you're not going to answer that question, but you want me to believe what you say. Surely you can say, oh, well, this is what happened to me. And I'll go, wow, I've never had that experience before. And we just have a chat. We talk about it. But when you're trying to tell me something that you have no clue about, and that you may have read from a book and just brought out of the ether, that could have just come from, just a thought that could be right. But experience is the only true knowledge when you're dealing with something like this. Did I ever tell you I was with a group of healers that had no clue what they were doing? And they were doing things that just didn't make any sense. And then it was all about ego. And I'm like, what? I just like, how long have you been a healer? Then they get angry. And then they start being defensive. What's wrong with the question? How many people have you, worked upon in the time that you've been a healer? They get angry and defensive. Somebody says, oh, Mark, how long have you been healing for? I said, full time, 12, 13 years. Full time, every day. Ask my ex-wife, she'll tell you. She'll vouch for it, because I was hardly ever there. Ask my daughter, because I struggled to get there to certain places and things, because I was working away or doing what I was doing, fully immersed in this work. So why is it that people get so angry with me, and they don't want to speak to me, and they don't want to interview me when they're a spiritual person? Why? Because they're frightened. They're frightened that their world will just fall apart because they have no real experience. And this is something that I struggled with. Ego shouldn't be part of it, and you should be able to say, yeah. If somebody says to me, oh, how many aliens do you think you worked upon? 1. Oh, well, you don't know anything about aliens. No, I don't know nothing about aliens. How many aliens have you seen? I don't know. I've seen some things up in the air a few times while I was doing, a ritual outside in Ibiza and different places around the world, in Spain, here and there. Like they come and go, and it's incredible. That's it. That's all I know. Now, why would you be defensive about that? Why? Why would you be defensive? Why wouldn't you answer that question correctly? Oh, to be honest with you, Mark, I've done, maybe about 50 healing sessions in the whole time I've been a healer. No problem. But 50 healing sessions isn't 10,000 healing sessions. Not to say that 10,000 sessions is better than 50 sessions, but there is something in this. Every situation is different. Absolutely. I would agree with you wholeheartedly. But there are patterns and there are energies that feel very similar and feel very recognizable. That's what gets me excited. Okay, I felt this before. What is it? Sometimes I don't know. And then sometimes it will appear 10 minutes, half an hour into the healing session. So I love this field of work and I love discussing this field of work. But why is there so much ego? And I know. How do you know? How do you know? So there lies the arguing, there the fighting. Thus, spirituality to me is a form like religion. It just suppresses us from the true nature of things. So today, we're going to talk about this. I've just wrote this down with my scruffy handwriting. Angels, aliens, spirit world, spirit trapped, attachments, demonic energy, manipulation, force and fear, belittling, all of these energies that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about otherworldly origins, energies, and things that are happening now that are very difficult to see and understand. And I put that down to the manipulation of certain dark ops, CERN, HARP, DARPA, military industrial complex, all the usual suspects that are now being open. Everybody's seeing it now. People are using the camera. People are deep diving. People are sick of listening to the lies, and they're doing their own research now. And good for you guys. Let's just hope we can stop the mandates again and stop what they're planning for October, November, December, which is a new lockdown, and to try and inject everybody again. Please God, please you, please everybody, keep sharing and keep fighting the good fight against darkness, because that's who we're battling against, the darkness. So, first of all, I'd like to start, if it's okay with you guys, with nice to see you all anyway. Peter, you're always a blessing. So are you, Brendan, Grace, and always lovely to see you. Thank you for being here. Spiritual Warrior, Chuckle Vision, the usual, you're the usual suspects. Thanks for being here, guys, and hopefully this may or may not be useful, but at least it's something that you can take away with you and think about. The first time I ever believed I was encountering what I believe is a visible form in a human form, but angelic, and not a human form with, let's say, the consciousness that we are, but a different consciousness that vibrates into what we look like. So they vibrate into our energy field, and they look like us, but they feel different. There's something extremely different. So I'd like to share the story as I can re-encounter it in my mind. So I just set the day up in Fuengirola in the castle. It was an event which was taken place by a lovely guy called Phil from La Chispa. La Chispa is a yearly event now down in San Pedro, but at the time he did an event in the castle itself. The castle is a derelict castle. There's only one way in and one way out, and that's through the main gates at the top. So everybody starts to unload, and all the stands are pre-prepared by Phil from La Chispa. So we get to our stand, and on that day, myself and Koichi, a Japanese healer, had decided to work together and share the price of the stand, which was, I don't know, 300 euros for the 2 days. We both take our section. I was doing readings and Koichi was doing his healings, where he stands up to do his healings. And I think, did I have a bed? Maybe I was just doing readings. Can't remember. It was so long ago. But anyway, what I can remember is that I just finished a lovely afternoon of readings. And for some reason, I decided to sit down in the seat, spread the cards, put them, I basically mixed the cards up and then put them into the 2 packs at either side. And I decided to do some meditation to kind of release and heal myself and strengthen myself. So I did just this. I'm just sat here and I'm just sat like this. And I'm just doing my breath work until I go into a deep relaxation. Okay, so I don't care who's looking. I'm just doing what I'm doing. There's no ego there. I'm just relaxing until my next client comes. So I didn't know how long it took for that to happen. It may have taken 10, 15 minutes. But when I recuperated my energy, I opened my eyes to see in front of me a beautiful lady, dressed plain. I think she was in white, and she had long, striking white hair, blue eyes. Was it blue or green? I think it was blue. What I noticed about her was a calmness. And what I've done here, I've just kind of put a bullet point there. It says pure. And if you were to ask me, like you said, it was an angel, like, how else can I describe it? She didn't feel like you and me. So I smiled and she smiled back. And it's hard to explain, but there's some time, like, if you've got a child and they've just scored a goal, or you've just passed your driving test, or you've just done something that overwhelmingly comes over you with great joy. It's an energy that just surpasses any feeling, and it fills you up with everything that you need at that moment. Well, this is how it felt sitting next to this woman. She was her body work was taller than mine. She had nice kind of broad shoulders, but her hair was really stunning because it went down, right down to her bum from the back. It wasn't forward, it was behind her, but I could just see it flowing at the side. And she looked, and the word I used was angelic. I used that a few times when I talked to her. I actually said at one point, I think I actually said, "You're an angel." But then I used to call people angel anyway. So literally she wouldn't have known what I was saying, or maybe she did. I don't know. What I noticed about her skin, her complexion, was it looked alive. It looked glowing. It looked pure, and it looked really healthy. Her energy force field was so strong that it could have blown me off my seat. It was so powerful. And I was in her aura, her energy, and I could feel the presence of this pureness. Now, I had a smile on my face, right? I couldn't help it because the lady was in her 50s. She looked like she was in her 50s. She looked like, how can I put it? She looked really young. Her energy looked young in the sense that, when you meet somebody and you think, oh, this person really looks after themselves, that they look well, there's no blemishes, that you can see that they eat correctly, they've got no negativity on them, they've got no frowning like I frown a lot, or my laughter lines. And it wasn't Botox, wasn't skin filler, it wasn't Marbella molding clinic. This was a pure, see, I'm saying it again, a pure face. So what I do is normally I start the card reading, and did I put my hands over her? I can't remember now if I put my hands over her. I probably will have done because I did for everybody, or maybe I didn't because I was so in awe. But what I can remember from this encounter is that when I was turning the cards over, like the first thing you do when you turn the cards over is you're trying to get information from what you're feeling from the cards, the intuition that you're feeling from your client. So your cards are a tool to help you attune to the client. That you don't need the cards if you don't want. But I used to like the cards because they used to wake me up a little bit to things that sometimes I might not have seen. And sometimes the cards read completely different. And you see things that you've never seen in the cards. And then when you look back at the cards, you don't see it again. So it really is a phenomenal tool, a tool of divination. So I'm trying to feel her suffering, her pains, aches, any kind of, well, she's 50, 60 years old. So she's going to have some joint pain. She might have broken a shoulder at some time. She might have a really bad back because she was always lifting her children. I couldn't, all I could see is that it felt like a perfect, like, you're beautiful. All I kept saying was, wow, everything that I'm being shown is love, kindness, joy, beautiful heart, beautiful soul, beautiful spirit. And I kept saying these words, and I kept saying, you're like an angel, right? And so, like, I'm trying to read for her, and it's beautiful, and I'm not struggling, and I'm saying all these lovely things that I feel about this person because it's easy to feel. And then she looks at me and she says, these cards that you're using, which were Doreen Virtue's angel cards, right? The angel talking about some angel cards now, because she basically said, she looked at me and she says, you won't be using these cards for much longer. Okay. And she told me a few personal things that actually till this moment came true. Should I even say them? Yeah, no, I'm not. One of them is that I would be walking a path without the lady that I thought I was going to be with the rest of my life. Okay. And she told me something that was really, really hard to digest and believe. But when somebody's filled with pureness and love, when they tell you these things, it seems to sink in a way that you understand. You're not angry, you're not bitter, you're not confused. It's just like, yeah, I know this. And there wasn't any pain, even though now what happened was very painful. So I don't want to go too much into detail to that. It's too personal, but let me say it all came true. What this angelic, and it could have been a human being, could have been a human, and it could have been a human with great wisdom. It could have been a woman with great intuition. Could have been. But what I've never felt before that I felt in this person was a pureness that I felt when I worked in the energy and the presence of the spirit world. There's a similarity. It's not identical, but it's similar. It's the closest thing I would say to the spirit world entering into your energy field while you're healing. And some people may call that channeling. I don't call it channeling. I won't call that channeling, because channeling to me, what I've recognized is people just talking and coming out of their body saying something. I'm fully aware when spirit comes into my energy. I'm fully aware of it. Now, to me, channeling is when you close your eyes and you go into a deeper state. And when you read the cards, that kind of like is the closest thing that I believe is a kind of channeled energy. So sometimes you'll forget what you've said because you're just channeling this. I think it's called the universal energy. It's the cosmos energy that we can connect to and become part of, plug into and then come out of. So it can be a little bit confusing, and you can have your own understanding on that. I'm still a little bit confused to all of this still, but after all of these years, I do and I can identify between them, even though it's hard for me to really put into words. The hardest thing about doing these talks, about doing a YouTube channel, is trying to explain what I've experienced in words that people can really truly grasp. And it's a good job I'm thick, and I am thick. I am not the brightest of sparks. I didn't even know how why the moon shone. Somebody told me it's because of the sun. And it's like, really? Okay, you know, I don't know, it's like, okay, I just, whether that's true or not is another thing. But yeah, like when I look at the moon, I think it's far closer than what they keep telling us. Like, really, that far is it? Doesn't feel that far. But okay, whatever you say. But like, I'm not programmed to the system that programmed me. So I would be, I'd be called stupid. Like, I am stupid because I haven't got the program memory to memorize things. I'm not good at memorizing. In fact, I'm rubbish at memorizing. That's why I wasn't good at school. I was known as thick. So I'm kind of used to that word now. So the angelic story ended whereby she gave me that information and the feeling that I felt. And then I don't know how she left, but then she left. I don't even think I charged her, but I wasn't a massive on charging people anyway then. So she was gone. And I turned around to Koichi and I said, what did you think to the lady I was just reading for? And, in his Japanese accent, I see no lady. I said, no, the lady with long hair. She's just been here. You must have seen her because you stopped work. I could feel you stopped work 10 minutes or 15 minutes ago. I see no lady. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Right. So I'm like, kind of, ask me why I was doing this. I've never done that for anybody else. I gets up and I'm like, I look down the aisle to see if she's on any of the stands talking to anybody. There's about 30 stands and then it goes out into an open space. Nobody's there. So I walk a little bit further, look down, see if she's there. Then I go across to the lady who's Spanish across from me and I said, did you see which way the lady went? La chica rubia, blonde hair, was white. No, I said, well, you were stood, you sat there on your seat. You must have seen her. She had long hair. And she went, no. Right now I'm like, yeah, this is nonsense. So I goes around the other side, looks down that aisle. Nobody's there. Looks down the other aisle. Remember, this is only minutes. This is minutes. She's got to be somewhere. So now I'm like, I'm going to find her. So I run down, literally walk fast, walk that way, then walk that way, because I went that way and that way, going through the stands. So the stands are there, go to the end, go down that one, go up that one, go to the grass area, look around. There's only one entrance. So I run to the entrance. I said to the guy at the entrance, as a woman just left with long hair, was he English? No, he wasn't. I think he was like, I don't know, Ukraine or something like that. So he spoke English. I said she had long hair down here. She wearing, I think, white. She looked beautiful. She was tall and no. All right, this is really, really confusing now. This is weird. This is really weird. Am I going crazy? So my angel cards, I love my angel card. I love Doreen Virtue. Call her what you want. She might have gone crazy. She might not. But sorry, I love them cards. And they were a great opener for me to see things. When I'd finished there, I went back to my, I wasn't in here. I was in Tickle Pink upstairs in a little tiny room, purple room. And I don't know how long. It might have been a week or 2 weeks. I don't know. I can't remember. I don't have the exact memory of that. But I remember sat down with a woman. I put 3 cards out, and it was a woman. And I put 3 cards out, and I remember 2 of the cards to this day. And one was you've got spirit animals loving you, and your pets are safe in heaven. And then there was another one about, I think it was about it was about losing a child. And I've never felt this before, because every time I turn a card over, it's like, this is for them. But the first time in all those readings of all, I mean, it was only a few years, might have been 4 years, something like that, 3 or 4, I don't know. But I used to use these cards all the time. And it's like, this is what I did. These cards are no good. And she looks at me, I'm sorry, what do you mean? And then she looks a bit nervous. I'm saying, no, it's not you. I said, it's these cards. They don't work. She says, why would you say that? I said, well, you haven't lost an animal in this world. You haven't, as an animal died that you've had. She says, no, I don't have any animals. Exactly. And I threw it behind me. And then I picked this up and I said, you haven't had a miscarriage or you've lost a baby. She says, no, I haven't. Threw that away. And this card, threw that away. I can't remember what that is. And I said, these cards aren't working. I'm sorry. So I opened my drawer, and the cards that my first mentor, put into my hands, which were the Carl Rorick deck, which is these, came out. And I started using them, and I never looked back. And she didn't know it, but I'm like smiling and thinking straight away back to what that angelic lady, angel, said to me. Now, that's just a brief description of energy difference between a human being that you would feel pain and suffering, right? No pain and suffering. I didn't feel any pain and suffering. I felt utter joy and love, compassion, peace, tranquility, all the energies that we strive for and very rarely attune to through a day. What I got in front of me was a perfect human being, but maybe wasn't a human being. So you may ask, and I ask the same question, why me? And why just come and tell me about the pain and suffering that is going to come in my life that, to be honest, didn't really help. If you ask me, she prepared me. She didn't prepare me because I didn't want to believe what she said. I didn't want to believe. But when it happened to my family member, when I got a phone call, I knew it. And like, it wasn't like I was in shock, and I knew what I needed to say at that moment. So maybe the preparation of this coming psychologically or mentally or emotionally, I don't know, but I don't know. You might have a better explanation than me, but maybe just thinking about it, maybe she did prepare me without me even knowing. I don't know. But anyway, that was that. So she came and said that and told me about my tarot cards. Would I have actually used them tarot cards? Probably wouldn't have used them, to be honest. I'd have probably kept using the angel cards and been an angel card reader because I was happy. So maybe that was meant to happen. And I've got to say this. I'm not really into cards. I don't have 10,000 different decks of cards. There's only 2 decks of cards that I had, and that one deck is over there, and this is the other, and I've never used them till that from that day on, and I just use these. That's it. Don't really know anything about cards per se, but I thought that was interesting. So I don't really need to talk much about the alien one because it's out there for everybody to see, and it's kind of a bit embarrassing, to be honest. Because I don't want to be, I said to somebody that I care for last night, I kind of wish that I hadn't said anything because it's almost like I'm adding to this nonsense of aliens are now here. And I don't want to be involved in that crap because I know a lot of it's a lie. Why now? But my story was told years ago. I'm just retelling the story, and that people are sharing and like to hear. But I don't want to be classed as one of those who promotes, they're coming now, because I'm not. I am not. I think it's all a lie and a manipulation and another way to send everybody all over the place while they're stuffing us every day by doing things that we don't know, like pulling all the dams down in Spain while you're not looking, and only people who are saying anything about it, the people who are living around the dams in Spain. Why are you pulling the dams down? Oh, because the EU says that we need nice flowing rivers. Why? Well, because it's got to, no. You're pulling the dams down because you're stealing the water. You don't want people to have water. Yeah. So, there's so many things that's happening right now, guys, that people don't know about. It's really sad. So moving on, the spirit world. Um, the one thing I can say about the spirit world is that the real thing I can say about the spirit world is when spirit from the spirit world comes into the room first of all has to be of a high frequency, very high frequency, for the spirit world to vibrate into the same frequency as our frequency. So do you get the full force of the spirit world coming when the room's in a low frequency? No, you don't. You don't get the full energy of spirit. So it's a bit like walking in mist when your room's in bad energy for spirit world to come into your energy. If you clean the room with sage properly and you heighten your frequency, then it's like spirit world can come down to your energy frequency as you cleanse and clear yourself and clear your mind and your thoughts, and you come up to that vibration, equal vibration. Then it's a beautiful feeling, and one of the most beautiful feelings that I've ever felt in my life. It is equal to nirvana when you're doing meditation and you hit nirvana, if you're ever able to do that. And I don't know if people can do it for long, but it was only a few seconds, but it was the most beautiful few seconds in the world. There is a slight variation between hitting nirvana as you're doing a kind of going from mantras or going from self-healing, meditation, guided meditation to meet your family in the spirit world. Whatever way you try and connect to that nirvana energy, your body starts to vibrate, but it doesn't. You don't look like you're vibrating, but you are vibrating. Just like when you hold a MOLDAVITE, if you feel that frequency, you feel like your body is elevating off the ground, even though you're not. But it's your soul or your spirit lifting up. So you literally feel that you're elevating off the ground. So with the spirit world, if you're sat doing this meditation and you find yourself in the place of nirvana, that high energy frequency, you feel like you're vibrating. Sometimes your eyes feel like they're vibrating, but then all of a sudden you feel like you're in full ecstasy. It feels like you're just shaking in ecstasy. I sometimes use another phrase, which I don't want to use. I don't want to dirty this, but when anyway, it doesn't matter, but it's a wonderful feeling. But it's not there for long, but it might be with some people. I've never really heard many people talk about it or even mention that frequency. So I don't really know. But what I do know is my own experience that I felt when my mum hugged me. So for the first time, my mum came around the tree, sat down while I was sat on a tree in my meditation, and she just put her arms around me, and I went into this nirvana energy. So however you go into it, was that the spirit world giving me that energy? Maybe. I don't know, but have I felt that energy before? Yes, I have. When I was in the mountain, not with spirit feeling or closing my eyes and feeling spirit holding me, but it was another form of meditation that I was doing. And I was in a room, and the room was clear white. And as I'm sat breathing in, I can hear the birds and the bees, and I'm connecting to nature. And all of a sudden I get this feeling again that I got from when my mum hugged me. And it only lasts for a few seconds, but it was amazing. Spirit world is slightly different. When you get yourself into a good energy in the room when you're doing a healing session, the spirit that normally comes into your energy that I found was the spirit of that person who is lying down. So it's a family member or a friend or somebody who's brought them there. So as I'm doing the healing session, as I'm scanning the body, I place my hands here and there. I normally find that when I go into a state of higher consciousness, so I move out of my body without, well, where did you move? I don't know where I moved, but I felt like my body was a pure vessel. So could I have been stood away from it? Could my consciousness be just moved out of the way for this spirit to come into my vessel and then give this profound healing? Well, first of all, I've got to feel it, because I did feel it. So was my consciousness inside while I was feeling it? I don't know. Maybe I vibrated out of frequency, so it allowed the spirit world to come forward into my body. So I still can feel it because I vibrated out of that frequency, but I am still of that frequency. Again, it's so hard to explain, but I do feel it when spirit comes into my energy, walks into my aura, my prana, my chi, my life force, and I just let them work through my body, and it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Now, after maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and I know full well that there is this bond, this connection, this marriage, this partnership between whoever has stepped into this energy field to work through me. I can move out of the way as a physical entity, as a physical body, and go and work somewhere else. At the same time, I can still see spirit working in that energy that has been created. So they can still be there for 10, 15, 20 minutes. So a lot of the times, how did I recognize this? By confirmation from my client saying, you weren't on your own, were you? And I'd smile. And that was, I swear to God, guys, I would not make this up. It happened every day. You weren't on your own. You weren't working on your own. There was somebody else in this room. I could feel, because I opened my eyes and I could feel somebody at my feet. And then you were at my head. I knew you were at my head, but then somebody were at my feet. And it's like I needed to look. But I never saw anybody, but you were at my, it was the strangest thing. And I'm smiling, saying, yeah, because I felt somebody in the spirit world. And I think it could have been your brother. I might have just said it, your brother. And they go, how do you know I got a brother in the spirit world? I just felt them. Or it was your mum, or it was your grandma. It felt like, who could it be? I've even had a horse on the side of my head. I've had a horse, and I could even describe to the woman that the horse was brown with a white stripe on its nose, and they'd break down in tears saying, my horse died 2 weeks ago. And what did it look like? Brown with a white streak. I said, well, your horse was here giving you healing. That's why I don't believe in the rainbow bridge and that animals are somewhere else. No. Every form is a vessel for our spirit world to come into, but there's also other worlds that can come into these bodysuits. So the spirit world, the energy of the spirit world feels almost angelic, pure. No, I can't call it pure. It's so freaking awesome that you don't want to leave. You don't want to go. And you feel like you've accomplished something so great. You feel like you are something so great. You feel like you are the most powerful person in the world. You feel like you know everything. You feel like you are everything. You feel like you are beyond anything that you could imagine you could be when spirit is working through you. And these are some of the thoughts that I have when discerning between angelic and the spirit world. Spirit trapped in between two worlds is a very tricky one. A very tricky one. And when people talk to me about spirit trapped in between two worlds, what they don't understand is I've been working with spirit trapped in between two worlds for probably most of my 2 decades. And I understand spirit trapped in between two worlds. And I would happily go into a house and give you information straight away. It doesn't frighten me at all and doesn't worry me. Spirit or ghosts, whatever you want to call them, trapped in between two worlds, ghosts, apparitions, don't scare me at all. What scares me is outside there. That's what scares me. People scare me far more. I've never heard of a ghost killing anybody or raping anybody or stabbing anybody. So no, I have no fear of that at all, because the fear only comes of no knowledge. But when you've been working for 2 decades in houses, in pubs, in churches, in nightclubs, in you name it, I've worked in all of the places and been there in pitch black and working in that energy and feeling the strangest of feelings that can at first make you feel a bit weird. But I did say, and I will say this, when it comes to demonic energy, never frightened me at all. In fact, I've become stronger and more aggressive and more confident when I'm dealing with somebody who has demonic energy within and around them. So it's almost like have I done this before? People say, oh, you must have done this before. And like, I still don't know. Maybe I did, because it feels like I know what I'm doing. It feels like, and nobody's ever told me what to do. I just know it. So it could be argued that maybe you could say, I think you've done it before. And I'm like, maybe I did, or maybe I didn't. I don't know. Or maybe we would all have that same feeling of strength. So I don't want ego to take over any of this conversation. So I don't know. I literally don't know. But I do know this, that I've worked alongside so many healers and spiritual people, and they've come into places with me and ran out. ran out. Oh, they're big and strong, but then something happens in that room or in that church, and something shits them, and they're running. They turn into greyhounds, and they're off and running, and I'm laughing. It's like, I thought you was a healer. I thought you did this for a living. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. So I kind of chuckle at that. But there are times that, like, yeah, what doesn't frighten me with Spirit Trapped in Between Two Worlds is their energy to move things, break things. Mirrors are primarily my knowing that it's the maybe that's what it is. Maybe maybe the spirit world are trying to give me information of Spirit Trapped in Between Two Worlds, because ultimately, when spirit is trapped in between two worlds, they have their family in the spirit world who want to get them home. So they lead you to the place where you need to help. And that's what happened to me. And there's many a times you can ask my partners, I just said, I don't want to do this no more. I don't like doing this. It's tiring. It's exhausting. Makes me feel sad. I get upset sometimes because of all the emotions that come with it. So sometimes, like, not just the emotions. If you ever read my book, you'll see that I had to go on the Camino de Santiago to Compostela. I had to walk on that road to keep walking through the pitch black at night when I should have been in bed, but they wouldn't let me go to bed because they knew that if they could get me into a dorm full of people who snored, and every one of them was snoring, they knew I'd get up and walk out. And they knew there was no other place for me to sleep. And I'm walking thinking, why can't I just stay there? At least it's warm. Okay, it's an orchestra of people snoring, but yes, they know exactly what you're like and what you don't like. So I'm walking, and only at the time when you get to the place where now you understand why they got you here. And there's no way I would have gone there at 3 o'clock in the morning if they'd have told me to, even if there was a spirit that needed, like, get somebody else to do it. I'm exhausted. I live in Costa del Sol. I don't want to go up there. Why am I going on the Camino de Santiago? I don't need to walk on this. I've been being a healer and I've been working with clients. Why do I need to do this? Like, you need to do it. So I'm like, I need to do it. What's wrong with me? So as I'm walking, thinking, what's wrong with me? Why do I put myself through all this pain and suffering? And it was freezing. I had no clothes hardly. And it was like, where am I going to sleep? And I haven't got a tent. And I've got these clothes and I'm shaking. And it's like, now all of a sudden I'm confronted by the reason why I'm there. And it was spirit trapped in between two worlds. So spirit trapped in between two worlds, I'm not, okay, they have an energy to be able to move things, and they can move things without a doubt. They can create frequencies that change the frequency of radio, frequency of TV. They have the power and the energy to move matter as well. They literally can move matter. They can influence and move energy of any description. So an energy of a tap is a great one. They can turn a tap and make the water pour out. They can switch the light switch on, no problem. They can do many things. One of them is smash mirrors. So it's not like they unscrew it and then it drops, but they have the energy to crack mirrors. So a lot of the times my clients used to say, my mirrors are breaking. Now I'd say, okay, was there a time that a mirror breaks because of the heat, or something was too tight, or it broke out of weather conditions? Oh, never actually went into an house and said that, but I always used to think it first. Be smart, be wise, think about it logically. It could be just them, and it could be just anything. A child could have thrown something against the glass and broken it. Have you got any children? Have you got is there anything in the room that could have smashed? Did you get drunk? So I would be first of all thinking this before I went into the house. However, when you go into a house and the spirit trapped in between two worlds, you can always feel the energy is tainted, tarnished, dirty, unclean. And how do you feel that? You feel like it feels like the energy of somebody watching you, even though they're not. So that's a good indicator of spirit trapped in between two worlds. Sometimes it can smell slightly weird if you're used to spirit trapped in between two worlds. I know you're going to say, what do you mean? You know, if I had a dictionary that I could write about the spirit world, it wouldn't be the dictionary that we have in English. Smells off. Doesn't smell like poo. It doesn't smell like somebody dirty underneath their arms. It smells off. This room is off. It smells off. It feels off. It feels unclean. So how do you tell the difference between, how do you know if it's spirit trapped in between two worlds? So there's so many spirit trapped in between two worlds, because some are spirit in denial. Spirit in denial is normally a difficult one, because when you're in denial, it means that you've either done something that you don't want to face, and it leaves a very dark and heavy energy. And then you've got a spirit in shock. I don't want to name them all, but let's say something happened to the spirit world that wasn't their fault. So somebody killed them. Something happened to them. They had a car accident or something, a shock energy that happens very fast, and they're trapped. And I try and explain what that is in detail in a lot of my videos, but all I'm trying to say is there is a difference of feeling between the spirit world trapped, because it's an I think the word is incomplete. There's something missing. Something doesn't feel right with this spirit. So it feels like a lost spirit, a lost soul. It feels like there's so what I used to do is, when I felt this and I thought, okay, this feels like spirit trapped in between two worlds, I used to sit down and literally try and speak to them. So I'd go into a meditation and I'd try and pull them close to me. Now, when you vibrate at a fairly high frequency to this spirit trapped in between two worlds, two things happen. One, they don't like high frequency at all, and they stay away, but they're interested. Okay, so it's a bit like a naughty boy looking because they've done something wrong, and they're looking to see what's happening. And this is how it feels. And if you can coax them into coming closer and start to have a communication with them, then there's a chance that you can help them understand that they are actually trapped, and that they're not home, and that they've been here for a long time, and that their family in the spirit world have asked me to come here to help move you back home, to go through the door and go back home. And that's the short version of it. It can take hours. Sometimes it can take hours. And sometimes they don't want to know. Sometimes they're aggressive. Sometimes spirit trapped in between two worlds, you can have almost, and this is where a lot of people make big mistakes. They think that it's a demonic, evil energy in the room, and it isn't. It's just an influence of that spirit trapped in between two worlds, going through what they were going through in this reality world, that they don't realize they're no longer in it. So if they were an alcoholic and they died of being an alcoholic, they're going to try and come close to you and encourage you to drink more. If you, say, split up from your partner, and your partner left you and you hated them and you died and killed yourself, right? You don't want somebody coming into your house who's in a happy relationship. So you're going to do all you can to split them up. Does this make any sense? Because maybe I'm going so far that this is just too much. Just say if it's too much. I'll go a bit lighter if you want. You know, putting into words 20 years of work in 1 hour is really quite challenging. But I do try. So, yeah, thank you. Some people are saying yes, so good. Got an somewhere, so that's why I kind of think maybe I'll just slow down a bit. So, okay. So the energy of spirit trapped can be very similar to demonic. It can be very similar to attachments, and yeah. Let's just stick with attachments and demonic. So it can be that way a little bit. But ultimately, working with spirit trapped in between two worlds, there's two things you can do. You can either help them back into the spirit world, or you can't. And if you can't, then the answer to helping them back home, in my opinion, I still want to believe that they will go home afterwards, is saging the place. Because saging the place brings in an energy that cannot be explained. But in the world of the spirit world, to sage a room is really to bring the highest vibration you can. So I kind of want to say that if somebody said to me, what do you think happens to spirit trapped in between two worlds when you sage it and then they disappear? I say that it's an instant vibrating into our home world, and you're back. Some people say, well, have you never connected to that person in the spirit world? Like there was two little girls. One girl were in the spirit world when I was on the Camino de Santiago, and one was trapped. Did you not connect? Well, what I felt was I wasn't using sage. I just helped them go, and I could feel that they were back again. But when I'm doing a cleansing and they're angry, they're bitter, they're aggressive, they're in the same state as what they were in this world, it's very hard sometimes to help them see that they're in that state. They're stubborn, they're in denial. So when you cleanse the room and then they're gone, it's like I'm never kind of searched in myself to say, where are they? Have they gone out there? Have they gone somewhere else to another house? I really don't know. So I told you, if I don't know, I don't know. I would like to think when you cleanse the house, that frequency of the house will help that spirit in denial vibrate into the frequency of love, and they're taken care of. I hope they are. But more often than not, I've helped a spirit move into the spirit world, but I have done a lot of work with sage. So I would say it's probably 50-50. Sometimes it's really hard to help a spirit trapped in between two worlds vibrate back home. I think it's really quite a challenge, but I enjoyed doing it, and there was a lot of success and a lot of cleansing. Attachment. So what's the difference between attachment, aliens, spirit world, spirit trapped? Attachments to me are quite common, and sometimes they're so subtle that you don't realize that they're there until they are pushed to the limit, or something happens that you can see clearly that the person that you're dealing with or sat in front of giving a healing session or talking to are they activate. And some people will say, but that's just a trigger because they've got suffering, they've got blocks, they've got trauma. That's true. That's true, and it could be used against my argument. But there's something that I notice within the eyes of the beholder of that person, and something happens in their energy frequency that you can clearly see is not them. So you can know somebody and you could sit with them for an hour and you could talk to them about everything, and all of a sudden you trigger something and something else comes out of them, and that's the attachment. So the attachment loses control. So I'll give you a great example. My son was 8 years old, 9 years old when we were playing football, and I wasn't giving him the football because I was playing with it better than him, because I was quite good at football. And all of a sudden he just bursts out in this anger. And I thought, and I wasn't doing this work. And I thought, whoa. And he used the F word, give me the ball. And he's only a little boy. And then it stopped and it went. And it was like, where did that just come from? Okay. Like he never does that. And now he's just done it. So attachments can be very subtle, and they can be on you and around you, and they can create something that is not you. So they can stimulate you in certain ways, a bit like trap spirit. They can stimulate you. Trap spirit is the same. But attachments, there's something slightly different and more dense and darker. And when you bring them to the surface, sage is a perfect way, or a cleansing, or a kind of a cleansing ritual where you can clear them, easily clear them. you can see the difference in the client. And it's a bit like having soul retrieval. There's something special about that as well, because something comes back into you, so you become more whole. Well, if something leaves you that isn't you, then you become more whole with yourself. So it's fascinating. That is a fascinating subject of the two. But going back to attachments are kind of sneaky. They're sneaky. So sometimes you don't even know they're there. So my son was 12 years old or something like that when I said to him, you know, Nico, the work that I'm doing, I'm helping children that I used to help a lot of children from all over the world. Geneva, I traveled all over to help children. I just finished actually helping a young boy who was royalty in, the father was from Kuwait, and offered me a ton of money afterwards, and I didn't want it. I sent it back. But that boy was very similar to my son. So when I helped cleanse this attachment, I said Nico had come over. His mum had let him come over to stay with me here, and we were just up the road. And I said, I told him about this little boy, and Nico acknowledged that he had a little bit of a temper. And I said, do you sometimes feel that this temper takes over you? And he says, yes, Dad. And I said, do you want me to try something to try and get rid of that temper? And he says, yes, please. I said, okay, I'll try. So he laid down in the spare room. I put candles around him, and I started doing this cleansing work like I did on the Q80 boy. And afterwards, it had finished. Nico said, that was really strange, Dad. I said, why? I said, because you kept saying this name. And I said, I did. I kept saying somebody's name. And he said, Dad, this is going to be really freak you out. I said, what? He says, I used to have a pretend friend when I was a child, and that was what his name was. And now I wasn't with Nico. We split up. His mum and I split up. And we split up. One of the reasons is because, funnily enough, there was a spirit trapped in between two worlds in the property that we moved to. And in 3 months, we split up. Now, it could have been that we split up because we weren't getting on. Could have been split up that I wasn't the best of persons because I was working all the time and I wasn't as good a dad as I should have been. So you can use all of those things. But the one thing that I do find fascinating is that we'd never, ever not been together for 7 years. We worked together as hairdressers. We were together. Everybody knew us like this. We were like this. We were like a perfect couple. And we loved each other so much. And then we moved into this house. Nico was just born. We moved into this house, and I walked out of the back door, and this woman said, hello. And I looked and I went, hello. And she was kind of down because the next house was lower down. So she was looking kind of up over the wall. She went, are you the new neighbors? I said, yes, I am, Mark. Pleased to meet you. And then she told me her name. Again, this is years ago, and I wasn't into this field of work at all. So this is strange. And she says, are you married? And I said, yeah. Wife's inside. She said, have you got any children? I said, yeah, I've just had a baby boy. And she went, oh dear. I kid you not. She looked at me and she went, oh dear. Like, oh dear, what? And she said, you see them clothes there? She was reluctant to tell me, but she told me. She said, see that burn mark in the grass? I said, yeah, I was just asking my wife, why is there a burn mark in this beautiful grass? She says, because the last person to live here caught somebody cheating on them. They put the clothes outside and burnt them, and then they split up and went. And she says, but the strange thing is that everybody who's moved here split up with children. They split up, caught cheating. And I'm not going to say who cheated or if they did or they didn't, but within 3 months, we were finished. I left. I walked out of the door with my bags. Crying, thinking I'm never going to see my son. I'm never going to feed my son again like I did when Jackie breastfed, and I warmed the milk up at 3 o'clock in the morning and came down and fed Nico and fell asleep with him on my chest. like just my life had just ended. And like, I do believe wholeheartedly. I mean, I tried to kill myself and my mum stopped me. That was a beautiful blessing. So there was so much I learned from the greatest of suffering and pain. And I'm so thankful for all of those things. I'm so thankful. And I got to see Jackie not so long ago, and I gave her a big kiss at the side of her cheek, and it was lovely to see her, and it was so beautiful. So much you learn from the pain and suffering that you go through. I don't know why I'm saying this, but I'm just telling you that spirit trapped in between two worlds can and does have definite influence over us, and these things can happen, but they are rare. Okay. I want to say that demonic energy is about 1,000 times more powerful than attachment energy. And the reason why I want to say that is because it's more louder, they lie more, they know you more and make sure they tell you, they're manipulating, they're a forceful energy, they're filled with fear, but at the same time, they belittle you with lots of ego, judgment, and mocking. This kind of energy that I've experienced with clients on a number of occasions has been very interesting. Demonic energy has the energy to be able to cause emotional suffering with the help of the host. So you're the host. No matter however you feel, if you're easier to manipulate, you will do what demonic asks you to do or commands of you to do. So it's almost like you're going to do it because I said you're going to do it. So you do it. You just do it. Okay. So demonic energy in my world is it's heavier energy. It could be very easily connected to fear, because fear could kick in at any given moment. And it's not that it kicks in, but it's just on the edge of kicking in. This is how I try and explain to people who want to learn how to become clearers of dark energy. So there's lots of words people use in the field of religion. Few people do it. I think they do it wrong. I think they encourage it. They will first of all send you, especially if it's Catholic, they'll send you first of all to psychiatrists, and then the psychiatrist will then give you drugs, which obviously fuels it even more. So exorcism to me is just a form of cleansing and clearing, and it just means that you have to just participate in the work, keep clear of the nonsense, don't get involved in whatever's happening to the host, that's your client, and you just do your work of love and light, and you just don't stop, and you make sure whatever that entity, energy, or demonic energy is, that it has no power over you, and you will not move till it's gone. And that is it. There is no quavering, there is no worrying, there's no fearing, there absolutely is no you have to be certain of what you're doing if you're doing it, meaning that it doesn't matter what happens, this is going, because they can feel this in you. And then when you have that power, you will get the energy that comes through the spirit world to clear it away always. If you have fear, then that blocks the spirit world's energy. So thoughts is another kind of fear. So if you've got thoughts coming in your head about, is this working, isn't it working, that's a form of fear. So block. So no energy is coming through, so it stops. So then it fuels the demonic energy. So for me, it's like I'm just doing a job. And I used to like saying there is no darkness where light is given. There's no darkness where light is given. And the more you say it, the more your hands burn, and the more the host is screaming and moving, and the throat and the belly is doing straight. It doesn't matter what they're fucking doing. I don't care. Do whatever you want, because you ain't going to be here much longer, and I ain't going anywhere. I'm not going nowhere. I'm here till the end. And I never really had any issues thereafter. Just one lady from Morocco who thought she had demons, and I did something that I'd kind of regret, but I was sick of it. She kept coming back, and I kept saying, "There's nothing wrong with you. It's you. You're the issue." Nicely, of course. So she kept burning herself, going to these witch doctors who kept burning her with cigarettes and doing terrible things to her. And my friend would call me because he said, "You're the only one who helps her. She's okay for a few days or a week, and then it's back again." I said, "Nothing's back again. It's her." I said, "She's got trauma in her life and she needs to heal her trauma, and she's not willing to look at it. So she's using something else in disguise." But you can't help somebody who doesn't want helping. So I did something that I kind of regret. And I have regrets. Of course I do. But I looked at her and I said, "Okay, demon, show me. Show me how powerful you are. Move something in this room." And then I got a feather. And I held a feather. I went, held a feather. It was in this room. Held a feather. I said, "Move this little feather if you're so powerful." And of course she broke down and she couldn't move it because there was no demonic energy in her. And then she never came back again because she realized that I called her bluff. She was, she was lying, basically. She was lying, and she was doing this to make her family believe that this was a problem and I'll go anywhere to fix it. But she was manipulating her family, basically. It was awful to see. She had some deep trauma, and she wouldn't let anybody help her. So the room normally becomes stale when you're dealing with demonic. What kind of feelings do you get? Very similar sometimes to very, very, very dark spirit trapped in between two worlds. So the closest thing I could tell you is I worked in, it was a restaurant, which was a very old 15th century building. It might even be younger, something like that. It might have been 13. I can't remember. But I remember they left me to it, and I was doing a cleanse of the whole place, and there was a hallway, and I felt the spirit trapped in between two worlds coming towards me. And the hallway was long and thin. And as I was doing the cleansing and blowing the smoke, that energy from the spirit trapped in between two worlds, that energy I was telling you that can break mirrors? Well, it felt like it went through me, right? And it could have been the spirit trapped in between two worlds, or it could have been giving me that energy. But I kind of was nearly falling over. And the room, the narrow corridor felt like I was moving forward, and like I was being pulled forward. And I was like, "Oh my God, this is weird. I'm feeling sick. I'm feeling dizzy, nausea." So I kept blowing. And so that was a feeling. You kind of get the same feeling with demonic energy when it's attached. You feel this weird buzzing feeling, and it tries to put you off your senses. It tries to throw you off your senses, throw you off your guard. So that's another kind of thing you can feel. It can demonic energy tries, I've already said this, it lies, it tries to wind you up, it tries to make you angry, it tries to get a reaction from you. So you'll feel all of these manipulating feelings to pull you into this very same energy that it is in. Therefore, no one has the power over me. That's, this is where that comes from. And it really, really made a massive difference. You have no power over me. And it's funny, but there's films put out there with those words, The Labyrinth, you have no power over me. And when you really understand what that means, when you really say you have no power over me, nobody can upset you. Nobody can have their way with you in any way if you say that. No darkness or no entity, nothing. No, because you are in your power. So, you know what, guys? I hope you've enjoyed tonight. I do give these kind of talks to try and help people understand that it's not cut and dry. It's not that simple. You can have your own thoughts and feelings, and you can be right. And I could be completely wrong. And the way we look at it could be that we both look at it a different way, but we all come to the same conclusion, the same truth in the end. So really, leaving ego out, maybe we're all right, or maybe we're all wrong. But these are experiences that I share with you via clients. They're not thoughts. They're not reading somebody else's book. They're not listening to somebody else's podcast. They are real life happenings that happened to me over 2 decades. And that's all I share with you. I don't regurgitate other people's information and give it as if my own. I don't just say things because it sounds good and I think it's right. What I give you is wholeheartedly the truth through experience. And that's why I feel I might be a little bit different than a lot of so-called spiritual new gurus in this world who teach. So that's how I feel. That isn't egoistic. It's the truth. It's just the truth. And I've said this before. Would you go and have your vehicle fixed by somebody who kind of just reads a few books? Or would you prefer to go to somebody who works every day on cars? That's all I'm saying. And when people get so upset with me and think, what do you know? It's like, well, I do know because I've been working in it every day. I get up every Monday morning, like my dad, and I go to work in a little room and people come up to see me. Then I get phone calls. Please let me fly you over to Italy, Amsterdam. Let me fly you all over the world because we want your services. I was paid to travel all over the world to do this work and to help people in so many situations. It was my job. So when people mock and ridicule and point the finger and use ego because they've read a book and they think they know it, it's a little bit difficult to argue with people like that. And I don't want to argue with you. So I make this video that in the hope that if somebody has a huge ego, and they might have gone already, but they might watch it and think, yeah, maybe sometimes I do say things that are just my ego and I just did it and I didn't really mean it. I just, sometimes it's better if you just keep your mouth shut. I don't go on people's websites and or posts and say you're wrong. I think that's completely nonsense, and I don't do that. Each to their own. So it's called respect. But if I want to learn something, the first thing I do is find out who the person is. If I want a conversation with somebody, the first thing I'm going to do is ask them who they are. Nobody seems to do that these days. I want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being here all this time. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Spiritual Warrior. Thank you, Grace. Sylvia. Thank you, everybody. I hope you got one thing from this. I always say this, but I really mean it. If you got one thing from this and it's helped, then fantastic. But that's as much as I can give you what I like at this moment, what I know. It takes a lot out of me when I talk these days because I have to try and channel and remember and feel the things that happened, and try and bring, because I think my stories are how I interpret experience and knowledge. Yeah, I think that's the truth. I can't in the book it says, it's like, no, this is what happened to me and this is how I saw it through experience and through my client. So I think that's why I'm a little bit different from a lot of people. So, right, just going to go now. Does anybody want to ask a question before I go? It's we'll give it 10 minutes. It's 1:18 now. Wow, that went quick. And there's 160 people on. So thank you so much, guys. Would anybody like to ask a question that I might be able to help with? If you keep it simple and make it to a bullet point, that's easier for me. Okay, then I can read it quickly and yeah. So I'll just hang fire and see if there's anybody out there who's got something lovely that they want to ask and they're confused about. Maybe or maybe not I can help, but I'll try. It's called Seeing the Invisible. It's on markbajerski.com, and the cheapest form is by ebook, and it's called Seeing the Invisible on www.markbajerski.com. Sorry, I didn't see the questions if you asked. Thank you for the laugh. I love rainbow obsidian. I love all obsidian. I've just been working with star obsidian this afternoon. Sorry, it's in the back somewhere. I put some up on special offer as well, I think. Love you too. You're amazing as well. Of course you are. You do know me personally. We're here now. No such thing as space and time. Don't know what a star seed is. Maybe I'm a bit behind times. All these new words. I don't know what a star seed is. I love nature spirits. How do I deal with them? They're there. Nature spirits to me is a spirit within a tree, a spirit within a forest. That's that. I deal with that with love. And nature spirits are only there to give life and to give growth and to give fruit and to give vegetables and to give life. And then nature spirits are there to protect that area and so on. So I have a lot of respect for nature. I guess that's the only thing I could probably say about that. Eric, do you use ETF tapping? No, I don't. I don't use ETF tapping. I don't even know what it is. I'm very limited to my work, really limited. What I'm sharing with you is my work. That was it. Yeah, I don't really know what you're asking there. Analyze your thoughts if they are your thoughts. Oh, yeah, you're actually not asking a question. You're just saying something that is actually, Nick, is actually brilliant. And a lot of people don't tend to sit down and ask themselves, was that my thought? And is that coming from somewhere else? If they did, then they might be surprised. But brilliant observation. I don't know who my guides are. I never want to know who my guides are. If my guides are my guides, they will tell me if they need to tell me who they are. It's not important in my world who comes in and who goes out. I am open as a healer to receive anyone who wants to come in, who comes in with love and healing. I don't care. The door's open. Darkness, any kind of dark energy, is no way allowed in this room because I cleanse it out. Dark energy can't be in this room. That's why if somebody comes in this room and they've got demonic energy, the first thing they're struggling with is being in the room. They're already fighting to stay in that physical body. So I'm using sage and it's like they're going already. So I'm doing my healing work and it's like they're gone. They can't stay in this room. It's incredible. I've never been one to ask, but I've always been one to say, if you want to give me that information, then I'm here. So normally what happens is if a client comes in and they lie down and they start having a healing session, I don't care about who's coming to help. But if they show themselves as an 18-year-old or a 23 or a 30-year-old person, and I kind of feel them, and I thought, well, that was somebody who felt like they were about 30 years old. They had short, like ginger hair. Oh my God, that's my daughter. She died 4 years ago. Okay, she's here. So they will show us if need be, but sometimes they don't need to. The point is, when your client walks out of the room and they're happy, that's all that matters. And our spirit world as guides, there's a lot of people. Is it Doreen Cannon who talks about we're all provided with two spirit guides all our life? Well, it's very difficult for me to agree with that because I've been here working with so many spirits, and when I leave, sometimes they're with me there as well, and sometimes I'm on the mountain and another spirit will come and it's like, well, who's my guide? There's so many people coming and going. It's like, do I have to really say that I only have two guides, or could I actually say that actually I'm open to anybody who wants to come at any given moment to help the clients that need helping, as well as myself? I don't know, but I really like that better. And I can honestly say, if you're asking me, have I got two guides? I never felt two guides. My mum comes and goes when she wants. The other lady next to her, which is a member of somebody that I love, their family, they've come and gone. And so has Penelope, so has Archangel, is it Michael? Like at the very beginning. I have stories about him and the amazing journey of being in Germany, helping a lady heal, or trying to help her heal before she died, because she was poisoned with rat poison. So I tried to help her survive till all the documents and paperwork were signed over to a boyfriend, or a kind of husband, and she just wanted to survive till that happened. So I was there, and then the door opened, and the husband, boyfriend came and said, they're all done. And she was crying. And so now she can move peacefully in the light without fighting with the solicitors and what have you. And as I was healing her through them days of healing her, her name was Astrid. She was an actual very, very famous interviewer for Dalai Lama and all of the famous people in the world, because she was known around the world as being the best interviewer in the world, because she wouldn't interview anybody for 3 months, and she would dedicate 3 months of her life knowing everything about that person she was interviewing. So then the interview would be amazing. This is just some of the stories I tell you of the people, the amazing people that I met. She was poisoned with rat poison because somebody tried to steal her land in I think it was somewhere up in the Costa del Sol. Her father was very wealthy and left her with a piece of land right on the beachfront. And the people who had next door, who built apartments, tried to, well, they did poison her. They invited her out for something to eat and poisoned her. And they did that to the other property at the other side, but nothing ever happened. This is what happens sometimes. So as a healer, you get to hear some stories that you would never hear of in your life. And when I speak about these things, people look at me and say, you're either very amazing exaggerator, or you're actually telling the truth. And I says, everything that I tell you is the truth. I know these people off by heart. The healing bed that I asked for when I left, I got it shipped over here, and I ended up giving it. Somebody else took it because of the story. I let them have it. It was a purple? No, it was an orange healing bed that we bought in for the healing sessions. And going back to that story, on the wall, I was looking up, and the whole of them, I don't know, was it a week? Every day I was looking up, and I was focused on one particular image all the way through, out of all the room. And she had so many spiritual things in her room. But every time I was focused, she didn't see me. Her eyes were closed, having a healing session. But I was focused on one energy, and it was Archangel Michael, right? And it was on the wall. And it was just a square Archangel Michael. And I kept calling for this angel. I didn't know who it was. I just saw an angel on the wall, and I thought, why am I focused on this angel? Why am I trying to heal her, keep her alive? They said she should have died. But they kept saying, the doctor kept coming 3 times a day. So like, couldn't believe it. It's like, so, and this Astrid says, you're keeping me alive. I'm like, okay, this is nice. This is beautiful. Good. Imagine how painful that was for me. It's like heartbreaking for me to go through this and feel this, but you do your job, you do it well, you do it the best you can do. So I gave her a big kiss, finished the healing, all the paperwork is done. I left, and I got back home, opened my suitcase, and she'd put a present in that suitcase, and I opened it up, and it was that Archangel Michael. So there you go. That's so many stories in this room. Of all the things that I have in this room, all has a story. And it's a true story of love and compassion and pain and suffering, but it's the experience of a healer. So all I share with you is the experience of an accidental psychic healer. So there you go. I wish you well, guys. I'm a little bit tired now. A little bit tired. But I hope you appreciate what I've given tonight out of love. Somebody said that somebody posted something that we haven't helped them with their trio. It's broken and we don't help. Please don't say that. That's just awful. We help everybody. you know. So stop being awful. Stop posting stuff on there, making it sounded like we're awful. We're not. We're an amazing company, and we help so many people every day. We gift every day. Don't be nasty. Just be nice. Speak to the girls. The girls in the office are beautiful. Unless you're a scallywag and you bought it 2 years ago or a year ago, and now you expect another one, then you're just being awful. And then the girls will say that's not fair. But if it has dropped out, we have a service where we pay £25 for you to go to your local jeweler, because we went to our local jeweler and says, oh, can you just fix that? Yeah, it'll cost €25. I said, okay, well, 25. Okay, well, we'll tell everybody, yeah, to fix that, it'll be 25. So we contribute, even though we shouldn't have to. You try and do that with any other jewelers. Go into a jeweler's after 30 days or any day and see if they'll fix anything for you. Good for you. Good luck with that one. So, yeah, it's been a weird day today where people have been like weird. Like, we've got a track record of love, and it just takes one scallywag to be awful. Just be nice. Anyway, I sent a message to the girl, said, please look after this girl or this man, whoever it is. You know, there's no need to be like that. But yeah, it's just one of those days, I guess. I think it's going to get worse with people. But yeah, I don't know, guys. I don't know. It was awful. Yesterday was awful. Jesus Christ, that can't be him, can it? That was weird. That's weird. That's weird. Jesus, I wonder if he's dead. Freaking hell. That's weird. That's strange. Sorry, that was really strange. So yesterday, weird things were happening. You know, people are falling down on the floor, having heart attacks. Well, I'm seeing it everywhere. And yesterday, just up here, there was a lad at about 30 years old on the floor, shaking like that, and the dog, his Alsatian dog, is stood next to him, and he's got the lead, and his hands out, and he's lying on the floor like this, I knew straight away he's been jabbed. He's been multiple jabbed, and he's on the floor. And I stop. No, but I don't go near him, because there's going to be people getting angry. Like, just stay back, send love, right? And I just started telling you this now. And as soon as I started telling you that, just down here, I'm looking outside. I've got a bush of lemons. I've got a sign that I can't see, but just here on the corner, the same guy walks past with an Alsatian, and I'm like, that's him. But then he didn't come. He wasn't there. So I wonder if he's died. See, sometimes that happens. Sometimes I'll see something like, and they've died, but I don't know what happened to him. But yeah, sorry, that was a bit freaky. I better go. I'm starting to sound weird. This is the story of my life. Weird. Strange things happen. All right, guys. Oh, shut up, Mark. All right, love you all. Take care. I'm going to shut up now. Oh, God.